without further ado, let's get to the fucking news, okay? The easiest excuse because the executive branch can control it. We'll talk about ways of reducing inflation in a little bit, okay, when we get to it. Joe Biden's bike pedal. Thank you for the 5. Get the subs. Let's get started. How do you like your Taycan, by the way, so far? Yes, I do like. I like my Taycan a lot. It's great. It's wonderful. It's fun. Let's get started. Biden's doctor says his condition continues to improve.
5 days after testing positive for COVID-19, the White House now believes that, like so many Americans, the president has the BA.5 subvariant that accounts for nearly 80% of all new infections in the U.S. Though the president is vaccinated and double boosted, even he has been unable to escape the new, highly contagious strain. On Sunday, the White House doctor, writing in a letter, the president's symptoms continue to improve significantly, noting, quote, his predominant symptom now is sore throat. This is most likely a result of lymphoid activation as his body clears the virus and is thus encouraging. According to the doctor, the president's cough, runny nose, and body aches have diminished considerably. His lungs are clear, though his voice remains a bit deep. That was on display when the White House released a video of Mr. Biden working last Friday.
Let me start by apologizing for my voice. I'm feeling much better than I sound.
As for treatment, the White House doctor saying the president completed his 3rd full dose of the antiviral Paxlovid Sunday and is taking Tylenol. He's also using an inhaler for an occasional cough. The White House's top medical advisor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, saying over the weekend that's not a cause for concern.
He has a history of asthma and he uses a bronchodilator to make sure he just breathes well. He has no trouble breathing at all right now. That's something that he does regularly when he gets an upper respiratory infection.
He does regularly. The president is breathing regularly. He does the breathing thing so well. He's always breathing. And he's actually, I would say, famous for breathing regularly. All right? No irregularities in his breathing. Thank you. I know what he's trying to say. He was talking about like the asthma thing or the bronchitis thing. Like that's a regular thing that happens with him or whatever. But like the way he framed it makes it unironically seem like homie is, he's breathing regularly.
The White House has aimed to downplay concerns about the 79-year-old president's COVID diagnosis, releasing photos of him working, although they did not release any new ones over the weekend. Now, the White House has identified 17 close contacts to the president, including the vice president and first lady. Their spokespeople telling me both tested negative on Sunday. Now, the White House has vowed transparency as the president continues to isolate here. Hoda.
All right, Kristen Welker for us there at the White House. Kristen, thank you.
He sounded like you when you do your Instagram voice. I sounded like me when I did my Instagram voice. Speaking of old Catholics, okay, Pope Francis. The woke pope, for those of you who don't know, I mean, the as woke as you can get as the pope, obviously. There's limitations to all that. Woke Pope Francis is set to make a historic apology to the indigenous communities in Canada for the residential schools and the cultural genocide alongside regular genocide that the Canadian government and its utilization of the Catholic Church enacted upon the indigenous population in Canada. Let's hear from George Stephanopoulos here.
Is now in Canada on his first trip to North America since 2015. It's part of the church's effort to reach out to indigenous communities and make amends for past abuses. Marcus Moore is in Edmonton with the latest. Good morning, Marcus.
Well, George, good morning. This is no doubt a historic moment for Canada. The pontiff arriving here to apologize for the church's role in those residential schools. And coming up this morning, the pontiff will meet directly with survivors in what some believe will be a key step towards healing. This morning, Pope Francis carrying the burden of a wrong he hopes to right on the very soil where decades of harm unfolded in Canada's residential school system, most of them operated by the Catholic Church. The pontiff arriving in Western Canada to apologize for the church's role. From the late 1880s through to the mid-90s, officials say 150,000 children were forced to attend the schools. The aim to assimilate indigenous children into Canadian culture by stripping them of their heritage and their languages and separating them from their families.
Yeah, I mean,
A
kidnapping
survivor
them.
said the only thing I learned in the residential school was how to hate myself.
Chief Tony Alexis leads the Alexis Nakota Sioux Nation and was among
just a little bit of kidnapping, a little bit of murder too inside of the residential schools. You know, basic stuff.
those calling for the Pope to travel to Canada to apologize in person.
We want to see some action behind this trip and not just lip service. It cannot be that way. It cannot be just a photo op. It has to be real work.
Wounds reopened just last year when more than 200 unmarked graves were discovered on the grounds of a former residential school. Dr. Marie Wilson served on the commission tasked with investigating and charting a path towards healing from the country's dark chapter.
They are long gone and by much of society not even long forgotten, not even known about. And it's about the children in our midst.
Low key, as little as the Catholic Church apologizing and acknowledging this it means in terms of like restitution, especially like offering reparations, like economic reparations, is a necessity. I think it's the right thing to do. Even the fact that the Pope is acknowledging it and apologizing for it is offering it coverage, which is interesting to consider because like people don't even fucking talk about it. See, there's hella people in the chat who are like, how come I never knew about this as an American? I mean, I've talked about it. I've talked about it on this broadcast. But, man, we found out like yesterday or 2 days ago. Okay? We found out that like 2 days ago that like half of you American motherfuckers don't even learn about the Founding Fathers having slaves, man. Like, I'm not shocked at this point. Like, it's not even remotely surprising. It's not remotely shocking to me that most people don't know this, are just completely oblivious to this. The Founding Fathers had what? Stop. We talked about it already. Come on. The Freedom Convoy is trying to protest the Pope's apology. It's insane. Is it insane? Or is it exactly what the Freedom Convoy is doing? They're a bunch of fucking upper middle class rich dickheads who have a lot of time on their hands and they're bored and they're angry and their entire worldview revolves around being brutal. Their entire worldview revolves around reactionary cruelty. You know, that's their point. That's so of course they would protest. They're like, how dare you? Sir? Apologizing for the residential schools. How dare you, I say. Don't you know?
It will be a very heavy week here in Canada, and there's been a lot of focus on the Pope's health. He's been suffering from knee pain, and his movements will be limited this week, and he's also canceled some of his other foreign travel this month. But George, not this trip.
Marcus Moore, thank you.
Well, hey there.
I mean, they were still sterilizing Indigenous women in Canada until like recently, so it's not, it's not surprising at all. So Fox does this thing where they go to different places sometimes and just put a camera on the people that are there and ask them questions. One of these questions is apparently who should be the 2024 GOP nominee. So they asked Turning Point USA, Toilet Paper USA attendees. This is a conference that took place this weekend. One of our longtime community members shares a B-Day post with you. Pretty nice post. Here we go. A year ago, I was one of the lowest points in my life, barely overcoming a crippling addiction and essentially wandering around aimless. A year later, I'm glad to say I'm happier, more confident, 60 pounds lighter, and looking forward to what the future may hold. Thank you all. Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations, yes. Good shit. Proud of you. And you got a monkey? What the fuck? I mean, I feel like that should be addressed. That's pretty cool. That's like I dropped 60 pounds and now have an emotional support monkey. Like, what the fuck? Monkeys as pets is pretty cruel. Is it? Yeah, I mean, no, a chained monkey, that's not cool. I don't think he has a pet monkey. I'm just kidding. I live 5 minutes away from where this was held. It was such wild to see Nazis. Oh, let's get back to Turning Point USA though. So Toilet Paper USA is a organization that I guess my like Bizarro Hassan evil counterpart Charlie Kirk created. It was originally backed by Foster Freeze, rest in piss, who fucking died like I think last year or 2 years ago. I don't even know at this point. He's the dude that got owned by Barbs in a Twitter space during the Barbs arc, by the way. Yeah, no, I remember. Yas said he's working on freeing the monkey. Nice. Free that monkey. So Bizarro Hassan has a gigantic skull but a tiny face. Normal Hassan, me, has a normal skull and a normal face, okay? But it sometimes looks kind of small because my shoulders are very wide. That's whatever. You guys already know I've debated Charlie Kirk multiple times. It's kind of weird watching our careers progress, as at a certain point in time he was seen as my like peer, my conservative counterpart, and of course given how conservatives love hugging, kissing, and uplifting their own internet commentators and like bringing them up in their scout talent programs in a way that like MSNBC never would for someone like myself, Charlie Kirk ended up basically going from debating me to setting up Toilet Paper USA, Turning Point USA, getting hundreds of millions of dollars of funding, and you know, and setting up conferences, becoming friends with Donald Trump and the Trump family, whereas Obama doesn't know I exist. I mean, look at this. This is from 2017. This is the first time Charlie and I faced off. At Politicon, and then we did it again in 2018. And, you know, this was a wonderful conversation. I think we faced off again in 2018 or 2019. I don't really remember. And since then, this dude is like literally fucking, I mean, he's just like tight with, been on Fox News a million times over, and he has a fucking massive conference that like every conservative commentator and every conservative politician attends. You think the squad has a duty to build the ecosystem of the American left? I mean, they are doing that, I think. Yeah. Would it be correct to call you the John Fetterman of California? What? I don't know. I've been on Fox as well, but not as a positive. It's just interesting to see, like, how someone on the left, like a young commentator on the left, and a young commentator on the right, and like where they go is interesting to recognize. I think part of this imbalance is that the right recognize. Oh, this was Yashar Ali. What's your response to this question? And before you get into ideology, it's about power and influence. I feel like the left doesn't have as many influential non-legacy media personalities that we do. Like, what's the left-wing equivalent to Candace or Ben? Who are legit celebs now? I think I'm one of them, but I saw this tweet. Taylor wrote about this. I think part of this imbalance is that the right recognized the power of the internet and creator economy early and leaned hard into it. Liberals in power still live in an alternate, dying reality where they think things like cable news are relevant. By refusing to acknowledge the shifting media landscape, liberals continue to ground across most of the internet to conservatives. There are some big leftist personalities online like Hassan, etc., undeniably, but there hasn't been a concerted effort by the party to embrace those people. Obviously, there are many other factors at play, like the fact that the algos that distribute content on social media are built to reward right-wing ideology and outrage campaigns, and massive creators to speak to young people are shunned by liberal establishment for being too progressive. Yeah. So that's a big part of it, is like the ideological differences between the Republican Party and how the Republican media infrastructure props up the Republican Party and actually propagandizes the Republican Party, but also creates new talking points for the Republican Party. It is a perfectly symbiotic ecosystem relationship that it's an ecosystem in which the media, the Republican media, the reactionary media, no matter how radical they are in a perfectly symbiotic relationship with the party. Whereas the Democratic Party hates its fucking base. It hates the most outspoken people in its base and sees people like myself as a nuisance, as a spoiler, someone who's too radical and his opinions are not actually popular. But even if they were popular, they simply could not push for that. They could not advocate for that because, it's just too, pie in the sky, these ideas. Fox News and Charlie Kirk share an ideology. MSNBC and leftists don't. They have every incentive not to ever have you on TV or funnel any more money to you, raising your visibility. Is exactly correct. That is the reality. But even then, there are liberals like Brian Tyler Cohen, who still doesn't get propped up by MSNBC. So there are actually like liberal content creators that still don't get the coverage from MSNBC. That's the thing. Like, there are very few people that the liberal media ecosystem actually plucks from the internet and then props up. They don't do that. They never do that. Think about it. Does John Oliver count? No, John Oliver is a comedian who was on his own more leftist than the average American pundit on TV. But that's it. That's completely separate. That's on HBO. We're not talking about MSNBC. We're not talking about CNN. There is no like Fox News style equivalent. You don't have that. But John Oliver started alongside Jon Stewart. It would not be advantageous to liberals to embrace those who speak out against the concentration of capital. I mean, yes, that is a part of it. But like, it is interesting to see that though, because I mean, obviously Republicans and internet Republicans, like internet commentators and the base are united both ideologically and also with what they advocate for. No matter how radical you get on the right, the further right you go, you will never actually strike capital. You will never actually be an anti-capitalist. So as long as you are pro-capitalism, then everything you fucking advocate for, as like Charlie Kirk does regularly, everything that Charlie Kirk advocates for is still pro-capitalism. And he's just finding new ways of like deflecting the responsibility away from the centers of power inside of this economic organization of society. Same goes for liberals as well. They want to play the song and dance. They want to play the game that like Republicans are bad. Republicans play the game that liberals are bad and immigrants are bad and yada, yada, yada. And Democrats want to play the game of saying like Republicans are bad. They're simply standing in the way of progress. But ultimately, any kind of anti-capitalist means of progress is stopped. Both the liberals and the Republicans are pro-capitalist. So you are truly outside of that. You are truly outside of that Overton window if you advocate against capitalism in a meaningful capacity. And when you advocate against capitalism in a meaningful capacity, they're just never going to prop you up in a similar way. They're just not going to do that. It doesn't help that the big networks are owned by pro-capitalists, so they don't get anything left-leaning similar to Fox News. Well, just remember, ultimately Fox News, no matter how radical they get, are never going to be truly radical in the sense that they're going to speak out against capitalism. They're not. The only person on Fox News that like actually looks like he's anti-capitalist is actually not anti-capitalist. He's just a fucking libertarian, Tucker Carlson, who only uses pro-worker rhetoric as a means to further justify or to further plant his white nationalist ideology in the hearts and minds of people. Do you understand? There's never going to be a concerned effort by Tucker Carlson to be like, we need to fucking make sure that Amazon is unionizing everywhere across the board. We need to bring back unions. Like, he only cares about that as much as he can say Jeff Bezos fucking sucks. You know what I mean? That's it. A big part, too, is because we have a geriatric leadership who are desperately clinging on the power to know that the younger progressives aren't going to vote for them. Example, Pelosi backing Cuellar, who's pro-life. Pelosi knows Cuellar would be a solid vote to keep her as the Speaker of the House. Progressives also tend to call out mainstream media. That, too. So, you know, that's the reality. That's why the landscape looks the way it does. But how do we get here? Well, we were talking about the differences between, like, Republican media. We were looking at the difference between Republican media and Democrat media. And here we are. This is the Turning Point USA conference that happened over this weekend. We watched a bunch of the clips from it yesterday. They were pretty funny. Let's see what the attendees think who the clear front runner is. Major speakers in the event included Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former President Donald Trump. Both are possible 2024 GOP nominees, but the attendees generally favored one over the other.
Donald Trump, of course, the man himself. He created the MAGA movement, and he deserves to be our leader. Look, he's not perfect in every way, but he really deserves to be our leader. He really shook the swamp, and no one else in the current Republican Party can do that the way he did.
I love DeSantis, but Trump is a little bit...
It's pretty funny that, like, the arguments have stayed the exact same, by the way. Conservatives love conserving the same talking points, as you guys know, as we've talked about many times over. But they do love DeSantis, and that is a little terrifying. That is something to consider. That is something to be fearful of, okay? Just remind yourself of that. But also, the arguments are the same. He shook the swamp. It's like, how did he shake the swamp? He 100% did not shake the swamp. That is fucking bullshit. There was no shaking of the motherfucking swamp, dude.
more, going to push it. Not that DeSantis won't, but I think he needs to come in and fix the mess that's been made.
I would really like it to be Governor DeSantis. I'm a pretty big fan of him. I like what he's done with Florida, how we've been pretty open here during the pandemic, and just a lot of, focusing on families has been a big thing. That's something I'm passionate about.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've had enough time without Trump now to realize that we do really miss him. Even the liberals are kind of like, we miss him. So I think it's time that we let him come back and kind of clean up the mess we got ourselves into, and then maybe DeSantis after that as president would be pretty cool.
I would honestly like to see Donald Trump, but I feel like it could be hard since I know he's seen as very problematic in America. But I do think he can save America.
God, dude, it's just problematic. It's so funny watching like Zoomers and like young conservatives use like terms that otherwise like liberal activists were using. Donald Trump is a bit problematic. It's like, dude, you think? That's the main problem with Donald Trump. Is he's problematic.
Are kind of like, we miss him. So I think it's time that we let him come back and kind of clean up the mess we got ourselves into, and then...
Yeah, thank God.
Hard since I know he's seen as very problematic in America, but I do...
Yeah, he's seen as kind of problematic in America. Like the January 6th thing was like not the best, obviously. You know what I mean? When he was like goading people into doing an insurrection, and then they tried to do that insurrection, which was kind of problematic. Not the worst thing, but the bare bones of his movement and his impact, his actions have a lot of staying power. For example, the abolition of abortion protections in this country, wholesale, wonderful stuff. Speaking of which, shouts out the motherfucking, is it Indiana or Idaho? I'm going to fuck this up again. Boss man, raid on Cobra Tate? What? Indiana is doing an emergency meeting to ban abortions today. That meeting is going to go on for that state legislature emergency meeting is going to go on for weeks as they try to, I keep fucking that up, as they try to figure out like how and why they should ban abortion in that fucking state too. you know, the state that saved the life of a 10-year-old because they had not been able to ban abortions at that point because they were all on fucking vacation. So the 10-year-old who was raped in Ohio was able to go and get an abortion in Indiana.
Do you think he can save America and help fix a lot of the issues that are going on right now?
I would love to see Tim Scott make a run for it. I think he represents the party really well.
What?
He brings a new voice and a new kind of vibe to the new energy that we're seeing in the conservative movement.
What? No, this person said that specifically because she's like trying to be different. Tim Scott? Who the fuck is a fan of Tim Scott? That's so weird. What the fuck? Yo, I swear, no, this is like when you try to be like, I'm a little different than everybody else. I know everyone's saying DeSantis or Donald Trump, but I like Tim Scott. For those of you who don't know who Tim Scott is wheeled out every fucking CPAC and every conservative at every conservative gathering to come out and as a black Republican say, you know, that the Republican Party is not racist. That's like his primary positioning in the Republican Party. She probably works for Tim Scott. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. There's no shot that like anyone would ever mention him in any other meaningful capacity, considering how fucking boring he is too. Like, it's weird. Dems are Klansmen. Good one. Dirty Merlin. Thank you for that. And thank you for that incredible take.
So I would really like to see him run.
Honestly, I would love to see President Trump re-enter the election again because I think he just did something that no other president could have done for the conservative movement in the state that we're in right now.
I think the best presidential nominee would be Donald Trump. I love guys like Ron DeSantis as well, but Donald Trump he's proven he knows how to run the country, especially comparing him to the guy running it now. He's done it before, and I think he can do it again.
Ooh, it's a tough question. I go back and forth between Trump and DeSantis.
It's a tie between Trump and DeSantis. Maybe both. Maybe Trump, DeSantis.
So yeah, they still love Donald Trump. They still want Big Daddy Trump to come back. But you know what else is coming back? Viral diseases, okay? In New York, for the first time in a very long time, someone died of polio. Also, monkeypox is the hot new thing on the block. CDC has confirmed 2 monkeypox cases in children in the United States. Now, this is relatively controversial because like the monkeypox was originally kind of publicized and sold as like a gay disease. And one that actually spreads as an STD. But in fact, it's not. It just spreads through contact as far as I understand. And also, that's the reason why children are getting it as well. It's not like the gay disease at all. So, you know. Promised it wasn't a big deal. It's not you lied about monkeypox. Wait, what? No, I said it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, but I don't fucking know is what I said. Anyway, but vaccines are being distributed. Don't know if people are going to actually take them. I know that some people are taking the vaccines, but the vaccine for the top of the hour ad break is also distributed at the top of every hour. Now, there's a 60-second ad break, and you might think to yourself, Hassan, how dare you, even on your birthday, you're going to fucking serve us with an ad? Yes, it's called a contractual obligation, okay? But fear not, the vaccine for the top of the hour ad break is a $5 a month subscription or a free one in the form of a Twitch Prime. Haven't used your Twitch Prime yet? You can use it for free here. You can also get gifted a sub if you are lucky. Here's the 1-minute ad break now. Annabot, 1234, thank you for the 5. Here's the 1-minute ad break now. Tamana, thank you for the 10 gifted subs.
This morning, the World Health Organization is sounding the alarm on monkeypox, declaring the virus a global health emergency.
We have an outbreak that has spread around the world rapidly
2001, thank you for the 5 gifted
through new modes of transmission, about which we understand too little.
The last time the World Health Organization made this designation was January of 2020 in response to COVID-19. Rarely lethal, but deeply painful, monkeypox is spread through close, direct contact.
Bro, this shit is, like, I'm sorry, it is, like, not great, okay? It looks fucking terrifying.
Contact, causing lesions and sores.
This is occurring in a population of principally men who have sex with men and bisexual men.
But now the CDC has confirmed 2 new cases in children, one in California.
Venusaur is GOAT. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs.
A second in Washington, D.C. Experts say a rare but concerning development.
Malrish, thank you for the 5.
This virus is now getting into family circumstances. It can spread to women and in close family contacts where there is.
The issue is, even though originally the gay community had an uptick of monkeypox, and the way that they talked about it was like that it was an STI and it was like primarily impacting gay people or whatever. The reason why they covered it as such, so now when other people start getting it, when people that are not in the gay community get it, they're gonna get fucking bullied. Gay people are gonna get bullied. They're gonna use this as an opportunity to spread further homophobic takes. This is literally everything old is new again. This is literally the AIDS epidemic. Okay, I mean straight the fuck up. So that's great. That's wonderful. For wonderful for the future of America, really. Gay men are going to get lynched because of this messaging. Also, bi people be fucked and blamed for spreading it to women. This is so fucking scary. Yeah.
There's a lot of hugging and kissing.
Across the country, the numbers are steadily rising. Less than 2 weeks ago, the CDC listed just over 1,400 confirmed cases nationwide. Now, that number has nearly doubled, with cases in all but 5 states. The nation's epicenter, New York, where nearly 900 people have been infected. Jeffrey Galaze is one of them.
Check my logs. It is an STI. I know it's kind of fucked, and I get your point, but it requires close contact with a mucosal surface to be spread, and it may actually be found in high concentrations of semen. So, STI is one way of spreading it, but as long as there's like hugging and kissing, you can still contract it. Okay? You understand that, right? Like, and remember that this, once again, Max 923, thank you for the 10 gifted. Exchange of bodily fluids can occur outside of sex. You telling me babies got near semen, dog? That's what I'm saying. These guys are fucking. That's the problem. That's not what happened. So that's the issue. Okay. When you say, "Oh, it absolutely is an STI," you literally run into the fucking problem of being like, "Oh yeah, babies got near semen." Then, dude, is that what you're saying? Like, you're fucking so dumb. It's not an STI. It's any contact with an open lesion, and it's potentially spread through droplets. And the other problem with this fucking viral disease is that we had this same issue with COVID not that long ago, man. In 2020, when COVID first started popping off, remember everyone was talking about how it would be fomide. Fomides is like one way that COVID spreads. People were asking you to fucking use Clorox on your goddamn groceries, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm taking the L on that. I'm probably going to get COVID and fucking die then. Remember when everybody thought, COVID was spreading through surface contact, and we realized like, oh, maybe not that. That's not maybe happening. Remember that shit? So stop rushing into this. Amazon already spreading that it's an STI so they don't have to shut down the warehouses again. I'm just saying, dude, like, If you fucking immediately rush to make judgments like this, and then like people outside of the gay community start getting, or people that don't actually that aren't even like having sex, then end up getting monkeypox, you're gonna arrive at like these weird fucking narratives that people are just like, oh, gay people are pedophiles. Look at them, they're fucking giving it to children. It's dude. Every single thing that happens now, I think I read from the point of view, the perspective of how can the most reactionary, psychotic conservatives use this as an opportunity to, I don't know, engage in like some kind of psychotic fucking fear-mongering campaign. Pecker Protector Sohaib, thank you for the 5 gifted. And the lesions are presenting more in genital area. Wait, well, hold on. And the lesions are presenting more in genital areas when those lesions pop and when people who are not infected touch them. That's how it spreads. HPV is not entirely an STI and can be transmitted from skin to skin to skin. As in any way you touch a wart you have and change your kid's diaper without washing your hands, you could potentially spread it. Yeah. It's not. You can still get it. You don't have to fucking have sex to get monkeypox. Please stop. And not only that, but like we haven't even fucking fully figured it out yet. So please calm the fuck down. My father died of HIV in the 80s. The insane shit I've heard about my father being gay, etc., when he was just a drug addict is insane. The U.S. has confirmed the first 2 cases of monkeypox in children. Why it matters, the CDC has said that children, especially those under 8 years old, are among those especially increased risk for severe monkeypox. What she's saying, both of these children are traced back to individuals who come from the men who have sex with men community, the gay men's community, Walensky said at a virtual event with the Washington Post on Friday. So the problem is, they're going to fucking turn around and be like even if it's like a gay parent, okay? Even if it's like a gay parent that has it and change the diaper of their child or some shit. And then they end up getting it as a consequence of like them not realizing that they fucking have this shit. That is going to be turned into something completely fucking psychotic. I can already see it. I can already see the narrative being written right in front of my fucking eyes, okay? It's the same as cold sores, okay? Cold sores are still technically herpes. You can get cold. The reason why 1 in 5 people have cold sores is because it is so prevalent. Okay? It's so prevalent. A lot of people have it. Your teachers will have it. Your parents will have it. And they won't even realize that they have it. And they can like hug you or kiss you. And then boom, you have it too. And not know it. That's how this shit works. Okay? Another absolutely insane excuse to try and be homophobic. People don't realize straight people also have sex in the same manner. It's just so contradictory and fucked. Yeah. I am deeply ashamed of the public health community and they're forgetting or rather willingly ignoring that the historical and cultural reasons have led the MSM mainstream media to have increased testing and retesting culture. So, of course, it was noticed first in the male community. Oh, like the gay community. Monkeypox isn't an STI, and it's insane that the CDC is calling it one. "98% of people that have caught it are men who have sex with men. Calling it an STI is not accurate, but it's important to let the most at-risk people know how it's transmitted." No, I understand that. I do. I understand it. The herpes virus never goes away. It's just suppressing and come back as shingles. Yeah. It's worse when people don't know they have it because they don't get tested and have sex with other people and pass it to them. Smile. Yes. Monkeypox is spread through close contact with people who are catching, who don't fit the profile, or not being diagnosed with the bias and ignorance. It's not an STI. It's a virus spread by close contact. This woman is unable to get tested at multiple locations. What? What are the reactions to this? MTG is already using it to spread a narrative? Oh, fucking Christ, dude.
We do have seen now 2 cases that have occurred in children.
I don't have an issue with like adequately saying, look, there's a reason why like at least like all the gays I know in New York and all around are getting immediately getting vaccinated for monkeypox. Okay, there's a reason why in certain areas they're offering it to gay men, offering it to the queer community earlier than anyone else in like Canada and shit. Right? They're trying to make sure that you can eliminate it before it spreads all around. And if it's ultimately still predominantly in a certain community, okay, even if it's not fucking spread exclusively through sexual intercourse, okay, while it is endemic, they're trying to fucking tackle it as quickly as possible. Adequate communication is incredibly important. But adequate communication should also factor the reactionary propaganda and counter narratives that are going to be drawn out of this, okay? It's not that 90% of men that caught it are gay. It's that 90% of that tested it for a gay. It's because gay men get tested right away when they start to feel sick while the rest of us try to get over it and not bother getting tested. I mean, there's a culture of STI and STI testing and prevention in the gay community for obvious reasons. that could be one of the reasons why you're seeing it more in people that are gay. Okay. Because they are getting tested for it. And now that like the narrative is set that this is like the gay disease, right? That they are more careful and more considerate on it because there's since the AIDS era, these communities have been very careful and very deliberate about these sorts of issues. Okay.
Both of those children are traced back to individuals who come from the men who have sex with men community, the gay men community. And so when we have seen those,
this also creates false confidence in the straight community. Okay, this is also dangerous still, because it's like then straight people are like, oh, I'm not gonna get it. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, I'm not gonna get it. I'm not gay. You know, I don't fuck dudes, so I'm not gonna get it. Like, you don't know. What if you do get it?
cases in children, they have generally been what I call adjacent to the community most at risk.
Every single public health agency I've seen has been very deliberate about saying this shouldn't be used against gay people. Those quotes just don't always get clipped out. I mean, it doesn't even fucking matter that those quotes don't get clipped out. It's such a stupid idea that it comes from the gay community, but to be fair, okay, dude, don't make a joke about Austin like that. Come on. Anyway. I already ran the top of the hour ad break, by the way. Gay men are susceptible through sexual contact because the anal cavity is more susceptible to catching viral infections than gay men. Smashing the pussy all the time. It's not present in lesbians because they don't use the back door as much. I mean, that's the same principle for AIDS as well. But damage is done by saying that, even if you don't stigmatize the communities. Yeah, exactly. Because people are going to use it regardless. People are literally going to use this, and they are using it already.
Of them.
My pain level is excruciating.
He's now part of a clinical trial taking an antiviral medication for the pain. He says getting treatment has been nearly impossible.
If we don't get ahead of it now, it's going to be too late.
So far, vaccines have been in low supply, with people waiting in long lines hoping to get the shot, something the Biden administration is promising to address.
We're going to be releasing...
Dude, AIDS adjacent jokes about gay men should be understandable as a not great joke to make. Yeah, no, I know. That's why I said, like, don't make like Austin jokes. Even though you're not making the Austin joke in a homophobic way, you're saying it because he's like patient zero for COVID is the joke that we used to make about how like, but still, it will still come across as you being homophobic. So don't do that. Don't make that joke. Do you understand? That's really different. No. I know the reason why people were saying it is because of Austin, not because he's gay, but because like, the joke is that because of his polyp, he always sounds sick, and I always say like, dude, he's COVID patient zero. But don't make that joke, is what I mean.
Hundreds of thousands of more vaccines in the next days and weeks.
Now, Dr. Jha says that the plan in the U.S. is to eliminate the virus altogether, something that he says is possible with vaccines. And it's important to note that officials say that only those in the vulnerable population need to make it a priority.
People originally thought AIDS spread through gay people, right? Yes, that is exactly. People still think that. People literally still think that. That's like, that didn't even go away. It was so prevalent that it's still here. I mean, here, let's look at this. I overheard a young man on the train on the way home today talking to another young man holding hands in college. I guessed about that age anyway, much younger than I am. He was talking about AIDS in a scholarly way and how it had galvanized the gay community, how it had spurred change, paved the way to make things better in the long run. Oh, God, these guys, oh, my God, this is a young adult novelist, dude. Holy shit. Why do they write like this? Just fucking get to the point, man. Fuck! I can't read this thread. I'm sorry. I can't. It's just like... like there's a very specific type of writing on Twitter, like Twitter threads that just like irk me. I physically cannot fucking read a 60 tweet thread that is like a way to you know, get to the point. They called it the gay plague and joked about it. Oh yeah, here. Like they were laughing about it because like they didn't give a shit. They didn't give a shit that gay people were dying from it too. Except it wasn't just a gay plague, was it? You know what I mean? Another reason that men are only suspected cases. Only men are suspected cases. I'm old enough to remember when a COVID suspect case was only among travelers coming from China. Yeah. If people say, oh, this is a gay disease, and the media loves hyping up these kinds of narratives and like and crafting it around like reactionary points of view, reactionary tent poles like this, then that's gonna have staying power. And then the gay men are the only people who are gonna go and fucking you know, get tested for it. And gay men could have a higher likelihood of catching monkeypox. Okay. As far as we know, that's what has happened thus far. But that doesn't change the reality that like everyone can fucking get it, especially because you can get it through sexual contact, but you can also get it through other means. Okay? A cube of plates. Thank you for the 5 get the subs. I don't even know what that means.
To get that vaccine. Hoda. All right, Blaine Alexander for us there in Atlanta. Blaine, thank you.
And then, so some of the consequences of this are, like I said, a false sense of security for straight people, okay, and lack of protective measures and shitty, inadequate detection for straight people because they're like, oh, you're not gay, it's probably not it, okay, and a false sense of safety and security for straight people, and then lastly, additional scrutiny and additional hatred towards queer people because it'll be seen as like the gays gave it to the straights. Exactly what happened with fucking AIDS, dude. Exactly what happened with AIDS. So basically, we have 2 cases where not only could they not control themselves, but after their risky behavior, they continue to have close contact with their kids and spread it to them. Sad. What is concerning is they're not asking the right questions. How did these children get the pox? Sure, it was more than hugging. Are the parents being investigated? There you go. There you go. Anyway,
there are
January 6th committee is considering a potential subpoena for Ginny Thomas, Clarence Thomas's wife, who played a role. Liz